two more intervention, Paul Skolnick and Professor Strizek, and after coffee break.
Good morning. My name is Paul Skolnick. I was a defense lawyer at the International Criminal, at the ICTR for Rwanda. My question for you is this. When you talk about using the vehicle of international humanitarian intervention, it seems to me your thesis is somewhat at odds with current policy of the government of the United States, where they're refusing to intervene in Syria, where there's an abominable regime oppressing the people. Now, they did intervene in Libya, so I wonder how you look at their reluctance to intervene in Syria.
Well, I don't think that the United States intervened in Libya because of any principles and philosophy of humanitarian intervention. Humanitarian military intervention is just an excuse for the United States to do what it wants to do. And it must treat the Syrian situation, which is different from the Libyan situation, in a different way. So let's not think that the United States is on some kind of humanitarian quest. It's not. It's about the business of trying to create and maintain worldwide hegemony. In Syria, they face a much more complicated situation than in Libya. Libya, I don't believe, was slated to be invaded until the advent of what we've called the Arab Spring. And it was very clear to me that these developments threw the United States into ruling circles into a kind of deep confusion. You know, you could tell by watching CNN and reading the New York Times, just the general behavior of the corporate media, in that for a week they had no line to run, no coherent explanation for what was happening in Egypt. And the reason they had none, and I used to be a State Department correspondent, is because the U.S. State Department and the Pentagon and the White House were not giving them a line. They were not cueing them as to what the U.S. position was regarding what was happening in the Arab world. I believe that they were in near hysteria what to do. And they chose the assault on Libya because Gaddafi was hated by the Saudis. They knew that any U.S. and European regrouping in an Arab Spring region would require the Saudis and the Qataris and all those Persian Gulf hereditary criminals would require the deepest collaboration with them. They hated Gaddafi. Gaddafi did not have any real allies. And most importantly, an attack on Gaddafi, who had been demonized over the years, would be quite palatable to the domestic audiences of France and Britain and the United States. And so they believed that a straight-out bombing campaign and proxy war on the ground would serve their purposes well, would demonstrate that the U.S. and Europe were the dominant powers in the region, and would put them in the game, in this unfolding game of an Arab Spring. Syria is a much more complicated situation, and so they and Obama, I believe, is playing much the same game that he was as we in the weeks that led up to the bombing campaign against Libya, when Obama claimed that he was reticent and exploring all the options, and finally said that he would lead from behind. The bombing campaign could not have occurred without the logistical infrastructure of the United States, which has the only capacity to refuel the land-based aircraft that were bombing were bombing Libya. So Obama plays the coy card and claims that the United States has not moved decisively to support its proxies, many of them Salafists in Syria. But that's because there are many more players involved, and Syria is strategically in a different kind of place and politically in a different kind of place than Libya was. But it has nothing whatsoever to do with any moral principles regarding the humanitarian situation.
Yeah? Okay. Mon nom c'est Helmut Stritzek, je parle en français. Mon nom c'est Helmut Stritzek. Je suis venu plusieurs fois comme expert au TPIR. Je ne suis pas professeur, il faut le dire, je ne suis pas académicien, donc j'ai travaillé et j'ai présenté une thèse de doctorat, mais je ne suis pas professeur. C'est juste pour... il y a beaucoup de choses qui me semblent correctes, ce que vous avez dit. C'est pour ça que j'ai mis les deux, Kagame et Clinton, sur mon livre, sur mon dernier livre. Mais j'ai l'impression que j'ai assisté ce matin à une défense de la thèse de l'impérialisme de Lénine. Et cela nous a mené à rien. Et votre thèse, là, maintenant, que tout est l'impérialisme américain, simplifie trop les choses. Pour expliquer ce qui se passe, il faut quand même être beaucoup plus nuancé. Merci.
Well, the world is a complicated place, and I did not set out to try to explain the world in all its complexity, but to address the motivations of U.S. imperialism and how it seeks to have its way in the world. And I don't see anything too nuanced, in fact, about the crisis of imperialism. I think it's quite stark and quite dramatic. And I believe that the promulgation of humanitarian military intervention is an assault on international law as we know it. The question is, why is the United States carrying out that assault? I say that it is because imperialism no longer has use for international law. If that is too stark and not nuanced enough, I'm sorry.
Okay, we thank you very much, Glen. And